The movie opens with a girl named Darby, who is recovering from drug addiction. During rehab, she receives a call from Joe, who informs her that her mother has a brain aneurysm and is bleeding in her brain, and the doctors will operate on her mother tonight. Darby calls her sister to tell her about their mother, but she is strictly forbidden to make calls without the doctor's permission. Darby takes her friend's phone and calls her sister, asking her to get her out of rehab so she can see her mother, but she refuses. At night, Darby takes her bag and runs away from rehab, and she leaves for Salt Lake City to see her mother. On the way, she stops the car and reads her sister's messages, in which she says that Mom doesn't want to see you here and advises her not to come. Darby then tries to take drugs, but she is unable to do so and falls asleep. After a while, a corporal officer comes to her and tells her that the roads are closed due to bad weather. The corporal officer tells Darby, "I have opened a visitor's center for some folks. You can go there." Then Darby goes to the visitor's center, and there are already 4 people there named Ash, Lars, Sandy, and Ed. Darby goes out to find the phone network, and then she sees a little girl in the van whose hands, feet, and mouth are tied. Darby tries to get the little girl out of the van, but the van is locked. Then she takes a picture of the number plate of the van and says to the little girl, "I will come back to save you." Then she gets into her car and tries to call the police, but because of the bad weather, there is no network. Then she comes inside the center and starts playing cards with all of them. She also looks at the van again and again. Lars gets angry at the defeat and shouts like a madman. Darby then goes to the ladies' bathroom and tries to call the police, but there is no network. Then she sends the number of the van's plate to the police, but the message is failed. Then she comes outside the center, breaks the lock of the van, and gets inside. At the same time, Lars also gets inside the van. Darby is about to stab Lars when she sees a gun with him, so she does not stab him. Then Lars gets out of the van to get food for the little girl. Darby tells the little girl, "I will come to help you," and she leaves the van before Lars arrives. Lars takes out his keys to unlock the van, but his keys fall down and he sees footprints there. Darby rushes inside the center and tells Ash about the little girl. She also tells him that the little girl is sick and will die if she stays there. Then, Ash picks up a nail gun, and Darby goes inside the van and removes the tape from the little girl's mouth. That little girl asks Darby, "Where are the men who kidnapped me?" Then Darby also realizes that Ash is also a kidnapper. Then Ash and Lars both go towards the van to catch Darby, but she has already run away from there. Ash enters the center and catches Darby. On the other hand, Ed becomes suspicious of Lars because Darby has been out for a long time and has not come inside. Then Ed goes outside to find Darby. Ash snatches the phone from Darby and starts checking her phone to see if she has called the police. Meanwhile, Sandy is there, and Ash says in Darby's ear, "If you tell anyone about us, I will kill everyone," and then leaves. The little girl cuts the rope with a knife and exits the van. Meanwhile, Ash and Darby spot the little girl, and Lars goes to apprehend her. Ash and Darby go to find the little girl, but Darby attacks Ash with a hammer, causing Ash's van keys to fall. Ash starts to strangle Darby, but Lars arrives and stops him from killing her. Then, Darby picks up the keys, and the 3 of them go out to find the little girl. Darby runs away from both of them and they shoot at her. Ed hears the sound of gunshots and goes outside where he finds the little girl. Ed brings that little girl inside the center. Meanwhile, Darby also comes inside the center and tells them that both Ash and Lars are kidnappers. Then, they close the doors and windows of the center. Ash tells them that the girl is sick and says, "We have her medicine. Give us the girl, and we will leave here without harming any of you." Darby tells Ed that I have the keys of their van. Then Ed tells them that we have the keys of your van. You give us the medicine, and we will give you the keys of your van, and you guys from leave here. Ash and Lars brings a gas tank and sprinkles the entire center with gas and threatens them that if they do not give the little girl, we will burn the center. At the same time, the little girl's eyes open and she recognizes Sandy. So they know that Sandy is also one of the kidnappers. Then Sandy informed Ash and Lars that Ed did not have a gun. Then she opened the door of the center, allowing Ash and Lars to enter. Sandy quickly takes the medicine from Ash and gives the injection to the little girl. As soon as Ash finds out that Darby has hidden the keys, he kills Sandy and Ed. Then he uses a nail gun to staple Darby to a wall. At the same time, Darby's phone gets connected to the network, and messages for help are sent to the police. Then, Ash tries to harm the little girl, so she tells me about the keys. Ash goes outside to get the keys, and Lars keeps an eye on them both. Ash finds the keys and returns to the center. He sees that Darby has a gun and is holding Lars. Darby then instructs him to drop the nail gun. Meanwhile, the little girl hits Ash's hand with a hammer, causing nail gun to discharge and the nail to hit Lars' head. Darby and the little girl run away from there. Ash starts to take Lars out. Then Lars' foot slips on the blood, causing him to fall to the ground, where the nail enters his head completely, leading to his death at that spot. Darby tries to drive away with the little girl, but Ash shoots her car with a nail gun, causing the car to crash into a pillar. Meanwhile, the corporal officer reaches there, and Ash tries to dodge him. Then Darby gets out of her car and shoots Ash. Then the corporal officer shoots Darby. Ash then picks up the gun and shoots the corporal officer. Then he tries to shoot Darby too, but the gun runs out of bullets. Then Ash comes near Darby. Darby has a screwdriver in her hand, and she hits the screwdriver on Ash's throat, killing him on the spot. Then she picks up the corporal officer's radio and calls for help.